Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to Gotham City Tonight. This is our fourth episode.
Number 4.
Number 4, good number 4. And tonight we have got some exciting things that we're going to be talking about. I am Lexi the First, and I am here with Ryan, and we are real excited. This is actually the 1-year anniversary of Tim Drake's coming out as the bisexual Robin. I mean, the only one that has come out as bisexual, at least.
Yeah, so
I'm
far.
just saying, so far, exactly. And we are also finally talking about the DC Pride issue that was released for Pride 2022. So we're going to be talking about some of those things. We're going to be talking about Warner Brothers animation and what that could mean for the DC animated universe, as well as Emerald City Comic Con, which is coming up in a week and a half.
A week and a
day.
God, it's coming up fast.
Yeah, I'm not ready, but I'm very excited.
Yep, same here.
I will be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then you said you'll be there Saturday, Sunday.
I'll be there Saturday, Sunday. Work has totally gotten in the way. And everything was kind of last minute. I still wasn't even sure if I was going to go to Emerald City. And then I was like, no, let's just do it. I'm going with this guy. I'm going with BC DeLorean.
Hey!
Him and I, we're going to be heading down together for Emerald City Comic Con. Like I said, right before we went on the air, right before, I was like, yo, we got, there's a lot of, like as always, a lot of Batman talent. It's super unfortunate that we lost Tim Sale this year, because Tim Sale is like a staple of Emerald City Comic Con and Rose City Comic Con. But outside of that, I mean, on the good news, we're getting some talent that is. This is I think this might be their first time there, right? We're getting Teenie Howard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? She's been writing X-Men comics. She's been writing Catwoman comics. I mean, she's actually technically living my dream. So she's going to be there. And same with Joelle Jones. And Joelle Jones is a big part of the Catwoman series when it kind of got restarted after the whole wedding issue. The wedding issue, right? So it's
still have feelings about that too, but that's fine.
I can't wait to get into those issues. I cannot wait. And yeah, so it's but we'll get into that a little later. But we got to talk about Tim.
Yes, let's talk about Tim. Let's talk about Pride, because I feel like I touch on it a little bit every week, and we have yet to have the conversation. So I'm so excited to finally have this conversation. Tim Drake came out canonically bisexual a year ago today. And I'm sorry, but quite frankly, if you're a Tim Drake fan who's been paying attention, this really should not have changed anything about this character for you.
Right.
I mean, his relationship with Khan over the years, it's just... He was definitely
I was completely oblivious. I was so completely oblivious. It was once he came out, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I see it now. And everyone else was like, oh, of course he is. And I was like, what, really? Okay.
You kind of look back over the years and you're like, And I mean, quite frankly, though, he's not the only Robin that, if he came out, would not be a shock. But he is the one that we have that is out canonically right now as bisexual. His treatment as a bisexual character has definitely been up and down since his coming out, as anything with comics is going to be, especially with something like this. I think his relationship with Bernard is really, really cute. Their ship name is Timber, which is just adorable.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty precious. I love the way that they're written together in almost everything I've seen them in. And then you get into this other trend where, I mean, Tim has always kind of been the punching bag of the Robins. I mean, not that he should be, but he kind of has ended up that way.
He did. As soon as Damian came into play, and especially when Red Hood came back as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have two other Robins coming in at the same time, it was,
and they're both as aggressive as they are.
Yes.
Yeah, he's kind of been through it. And I think that there were some of us who maybe thought, okay, well, if Tim Drake is going to be the queer Robin, then we're not going to fall into the bury your gays trope. So surely Tim Drake is going to get a break, right? Right?
No.
No, he got worse. He's died like 3 times in Elseworlds in the past year since he came out. He died in DC versus Vampires, or whatever title that was. He died in the Dark Knights of Steel.
Yep.
And then he isn't dead yet, but took that bullet to the neck.
Yes.
And almost died in the current Batman and Robin run.
But even right before, like right when Rebirth started, and he was part of that team with like Clayface and Batwoman, and it was them, and they killed him off then too.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's like they took Tim, they said, here is this actually by comic standards really sweet, wholesome, kind of like adorable relationship that he has with Bernard. It is one of the like, just not even just like queer, but like heterosexual, just one of the sweetest, most healthy relationships in comics right now. Like they're very cute together.
Yeah,
and any chance they get, they hurt him.
I think that's why. I think it's because they know people are attached to Tim. Mm-hmm. So it's like the Bendis effect or the Dan Slott effect, where it's kind of like, I usually use those two as the example of like because they do it to themselves as well as writers, where they put their favorite characters through the worst, the worst treatment.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of like everyone's go-to, where it's kind of like, hey man, if we want to make a splash, if we want to hurt people, go after Tim.
They're like, everyone else has already died. It's like, you can't, I mean, anytime they try and get rid of Nightwing, like there's been so many weird things where Dick has been removed from the story for things like the Agent Grayson arc, the Rick, R-I-C, you know, Rick.
We'll get, whoa, dude, we have to do an episode on Rick.
Just Rick. And then there was, I want to say arc, but it was literally like an issue where he was a Talon. Like,
don't even get me. That whole thing is just so weird, and I felt bad for Tom King because it seemed like he had a plan with that, and it's just like, but they didn't, like DC didn't have the balls to just cancel the title, like, so they kept it going because they didn't want people to, because every time they say we're gonna kill Nightwing, like when Dan DiDio used to threaten, like, we're gonna kill Nightwing in this crisis, and everyone just like loses their mind.
Because everyone loves Nightwing. Yeah, everyone loves him.
Everyone loves Dick. I love Dick. You love Dick. Everyone in the chat loves Dick. We all love Dick, right? So I get why people would be upset, but when KG Beast shot, Dick in the head, I honestly thought they were just gonna like write him out and have him throw him in a coma until until Tom King's story is done.
Oh yeah, have him in his coma. You can have all of these like heroes coming in, like talking to him at his bedside dramatically every few issues. Whatever you want to, you can have fun with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just, and I feel like now it's kind of like that whole kind of like threatening to kill Dick has now kind of trickled on to Tim.
And it's because I feel like, they keep trying, they can't get rid of Dick. Jason had the big dramatic death. So killing him again is kind of like, he's already done the whole like dying dramatically thing. Damian has died, but again, like we talked about, over the past weeks, you can't do that much with Damian right now because DC clearly has this weird twisted endgame vision for him that like you just can't touch. So like you said, that leaves Tim. I mean, they're much more hesitant, obviously, to kill off the female Bat fan members, for better or worse.
Right.
So that leaves good old Timbo. And we had a few comments of people with big Tim feelings, which I really appreciate because Tim does not get a lot of love. I feel like if you just survey a room, Tim is going to come up the least, probably up there with Damian for like least favorite Robins, honestly. But the people who love him so hard.
Yeah, well, he was my Robin. So of course that's the one I'm going to be attached to, right? Like he was the reason I started reading DC comics on the regular. Mm-hmm. So of course, like once, like it's like X-Men or Marvel for me, right? So once once you have your gateway drug characters, they just don't leave you. They're like your first
Oh yeah.
loves, right? Like it's
Oh yeah.
just that's just how it is. There's Kitty Pryde in Marvel. There's Tim Drake. I love
Yep.
my nerdy geniuses. Okay, I just
Yeah.
leave me alone.
It's a great energy. It's a great vibe. And yeah, I mean, I think everyone's treatment was a little bit awful in New 52. That was just a time for DC Comics, but some of the characters have really recovered from that, and some have not.
Some have not.
Um, they, especially in animation, I've noticed they take a lot from Tim and give it to Dick.
Yeah. Yes.
That is a very common thing. And then recently, I've noticed that they're taking a lot from Dick and giving it to Jason. They do a lot of that too. I mean, Corey Starfire is Exhibit A of that.
Oh my gosh!
Her
Goldfish memory Corey just bugged me so much.
I need an entire episode about the treatment of Starfire, but that's fine.
Oh, see, just keep track of this, folks. You're getting a whole update on what's coming up the pipeline here.
Yep. I want my 8-foot tall, hair to her ankles, Amazonian, break Dick in half Starfire.
Yeah,
like
Death
that
by
is who I miss. 1000%. That is the Starfire that we deserve.
That's right.
Fine.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how straight Dick Grayson is, he's always a bottom.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Especially for 8 foot tall, hair down to the floor, buff Amazon goddess alien Starfire.
Yeah, that's what happens when your mother figure is Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say those are some of my DC intro characters was giant Starfire and Wonder Woman. And I do think that, and it's weird to say this about DC Comics, because in theory, these are the professionals, right? These are the people who own these characters. These are the people who create these characters. And I do get the feeling that a lot of times they don't know what to do with Tim, especially in things like Dark Knights of Steel, which I think taking Tim into a medieval universe has a lot of potential. And it does kind of feel like that, especially in these group settings, people don't know what to do with him.
Well, he's kind of the nerd, right? And when you put him in a medieval setting, if you're gonna like do the whole fantasy nerd thing with him, then he's kind of your dungeon master. And you know, like, so if you're taking him back in time and you're doing knights and, you know, medieval fantasy, you got to keep Tim around.
Yeah, no, he's a fantastic character. He gets underrated, underutilized, which is why, I mean, it is kind of exciting seeing him jumping back into the Robin mantle now that Damian is choosing to step away from it, just to kind of, I feel like we're getting one last chance to have a solid Robin Tim run, but I still want to see him move on from Robin. And I know that you like kind of like him in Robin a little more, even like the idea of like an older Tim in Robin. And even if you keep it in Robin, my God, let the kid grow up. He and Damian have gone from a 7-year age gap down to like a 2-3 year age gap, because that's how aging works.
Yep.
Apparently.
Well, eventually Dick Grayson and Tim and Jason will all be older than Bruce.
Yeah. Because Bruce can't get too old. Heaven forbid.
Not unless
the female characters will just keep getting crazy young.
Right. How old is Stephanie Brown now? Do we know?
She should be in between Jason and Tim, I think. I think she's still supposed to be maybe only a few months or a year older than Tim. But I think she's supposed to be a hair older than him. So there was so here's where some of the ages got a little more convoluted for the female characters, was they did the Batgirls run, I think it was called, that focused mostly on Stephanie and Cass, I think, more than anyone else. But they brought all their ages crazy down. They were like 14, 15 years old. But this was still supposed to be, as far as I could tell, and I could be wrong, it wasn't an Elseworlds. It was supposed to be another concurrent run in the timeline.
Right.
And I think there was an interview somewhere where I think they just openly admitted they just like didn't understand what their ages were supposed to be and made them all in their early and mid-teens.
Yeah, because it's, to me, Stephanie's always like, I think that's just because of, you know, again, reading all of this as it was happening way back in the day. I always like Stephanie and Tim are like same age.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They should be.
And they should be, right? Cassie's probably a little younger, but she's, again, like, Damian took that role once again that Cassie had. That assassin that was like ready to like damn near kill you.
Oh,
you know, just for sneezing the wrong way.
Absolutely.
right?
And I think,
and she's silent though, right?
yes,
Like,
I think what has been cool with Cass, at least, is it is depressing to see him get, and this is from someone who loves Damien. It's sad seeing him get a lot of the love that she deserved. But I do think, at least for her, I appreciate a lot of the places that they've taken her story and taken her character.
yep,
Even if she hasn't been as popular, she's been really well written. I think so. So seeing her get to grow out of the angry little assassin trope because Damien took it has actually been kind of cool.
right. Yeah.
I love that for her.
And her costume's so badass.
Oh, they stole quite a bit of it for Babs in the new game.
I think they're trying to, I think for the new game, it seems like the Tim Robin, because it's Tim in there, but they're still giving him like Tim costumes and Damien costumes.
I was going to say, he has some Damien, Babs got some Cass. It's
right. And I think
we all know it's a personal pet peeve of mine.
And I think Babs is probably going to end up getting some like Stephanie Brown Robin stuff too. Like, I just wouldn't doubt it, only because like, they're going to have people like us playing this game and they're going to be like, oh, I wish I could play as Damien. Well, I'll just dress him up as Damien.
And I know that that's what they think we're going to think, but really we're sitting here going, why does Tim look like Damien?
Yes.
They're like, you can't put Cass's outfit on Babs and tell me that's Cass, They're such different characters.
Yeah, I felt the same way with the Injustice fighting game as well. Because the second one where you could like get everyone's get costume pieces and stuff, and you could eventually make Tim, but he would be like in Nightwing's or not, it would be Damien in like Nightwing's costume, and it was just like, I don't know. I understand what you're trying to do because you're just trying to have I get it, but you're right. At the same time, it's like, just give me these characters.
Yeah, give me more of their outfits, because they canonically have so many different outfits. You don't even have to pull from other characters to get things that have been seen in the comics, which I think is, give them their Dark Knights of Steel armor,
You know what? I wouldn't doubt if that's in there. We just don't know yet.
Oh, I have to say, whatever issues I may have with some of the writing in Dark Knights of Steel, that artwork, I just like, when the first few panels that they released were like, there was no dialogue and it was just the pages. I was in love from the get-go. That artwork is so stunning. It is like every page is a frameable work of art on its own.
Yeah, that's always great when the artwork can make up for the story that may not be necessarily for you, because at least you can still flip through it and be like, at least I have a nice art book.
Right. I'm like, oh, but look how pretty it is. But speaking of issues and art and pretty things, that was a stretch. Let's bring it to the Pride issue.
Yes, let's bring it all back.
Bringing it back, because I swear to God, we are going to talk about this tonight if it takes me 3 hours to get to it.
I don't think your cat would allow that.
Oh, he is fast asleep right now.
Oh, okay.
He is, yeah, but he is right here with me. He's not gonna leave my side, that is for sure.
Yeah.
I was out of town for Gen Con. If you tried to watch last week, I was trying to stream for the hotel. Sorry about that. But the tiny baby and the giant cat have both got big feelings about the fact that I was gone. So we're all kind of sticking together a little bit, all week. So DC Pride. There were how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe, hero stories. And then there was the Kevin Conroy, kind of like autobiographical story about like his actual life and his experiences as a gay man working in Hollywood. And reading through DC Pride, it was kind of insane for me how high the highs were and then how low the lows were, all in one book. And I think, Ryan, you can like feel this as someone who just reads comics in general. It is wild sometimes when you get these compilations that are different authors and different artists back to back, and the differences can be so jarring. But it still felt like reading this that there could have been an overarching person, because some of these were so authentic and so real and felt just so true to not just the struggles, but the joys of the queer community. And then you had ones that felt like a slap in the face. I am talking about Devin Grayson's John Kent.
Right.
I absolutely am. And I'm not going to hold back on that, because especially that one in direct comparison to Kevin Conroy's real story was frankly offensive.
Right.
And I'm not going to harp on that one all night because I do want to talk about the positives as well because they deserve to be talked about. So we're just going to mention what the issue with that was. And so when you look at Kevin Conroy's story, it's in the very back of the book, and it is absolutely moving. I highly recommend looking it up if you can. And I guess I should just throw out there as a general note that we will not be using slurs, but there'll be references to slurs against the queer community as told in his story, and general homophobia or feelings about the queer community, positive and negative. We're going to address some of those things tonight, just as a heads up, because in Kevin Conroy's story, one of the things that he first mentions in the very beginning of the story is as a young gay man watching the Stonewall riots and the feelings that that gave him as a gay man, the combination of like the pride in seeing these people standing up and the fear and terror of seeing the backlash against them. So in the John Kent, written by Devin Grayson, and I can't speak to the feelings of the artist about this. I thought the art was really pretty. I don't know if the artist has released any statements or opinions about it or if they can, but it was beautiful. But it is a story where Damian Wayne comes to visit John for Pride, and he's busting out all of this riot control gear, these like gas cans, these electric nets, these just like crazy weapons, and talking about how he's gonna like take out all of these people because he knows Pride is going to be a riot. It's this very weird thing that it also just does. And this is current Robin run, the black, gray, red, older teen Damian. So it also just feels really out of character for current run Damian. It's all very weird. And then John's reaction is somehow worse than Damian's threats of violence. John blows him off entirely, says, Damian, Pride hasn't been a riot in years. It's just a party now. And he takes Damian through, blows off doesn't mention the history, doesn't talk about Stonewall, nothing, just says, no. We're past that. It's a party now. And just shows and Damian tries to actually bring up after that some extremely valid points. He goes, what's the security like for this if someone tries to hurt the people here for Pride? What if someone tries to release Joker gas or whatever his examples are? And he's talking to Jay, and Jay is like, don't worry, it's Pride. It's just a party. It's just fun. Just relax. Like nothing bad happens, basically. And then John flies around with a rainbow cape, and that's it. That's the entire story.
It's empty.
It felt like Pride TM circle sponsored by Target, you know?
Yes,
like,
that sounds like a corporate commercial.
Exactly. It was 1,000%. It felt like an ad. I kept waiting to see like John holding up his Pepsi can at the end.
Yeah.
Like it was weird, and it was frankly offensive to brush Pride off as, oh, no. We don't talk about the riot part. We don't talk about the part where we fought for our rights. We don't talk about the part where we still have to fight for our rights. Pride's a party. We don't talk about security measures because it's not like anyone wants to hurt us still. Pride is a party.
Right.
And not every Pride story has to be depressing. You don't have to go into a Pride story and show people getting abused. You don't have to show slurs, just like a lot of these did. Nubia's story, if I'm trying to just make sure that I remember correctly, didn't have any anti-queer feelings in it, like didn't address any of that, but it was still a very wholesome, like warm feeling story that made me feel good and felt authentic. This one felt like it went out of its way. And it was very depressing in that you feel how corporate it was. But so that was to me the lowest point of the Pride issue. So we do have some comments. And again, like I am a firm believer, every queer person's experience is different, just like every POC's, every marginalized gender, everyone has a unique opinion. So if you are in the chat and you have a different experience, a different opinion, please feel free to input it. We are all ears. But yeah, it was very corporate, very feeling. But yes, there was literally real life attempts at attacking Pride this year in 2022. So having the entire thing be John brushing off Damien's concerns for a riot, and then Jay brushing off Damien's concerns for the safety of the Pride goers was weird. It felt very, and even if they had done it in a way where it was like, oh, we're not worried about security because John is here and he's on top of it, because John is aware of it and like making sure he's doing something about it. That's why everyone's relaxed. Even if they kind of spun it that way, I would feel it. But they sure did not. John was on a float with his rainbow cape, and it was just very, rainbows are fun. Pride is fun. Bring your kids. Whee!
Yeah, buy a new Toyota and we're...
Exactly. Buy a new Toyota because we support the gays.
That's right.
Like...
Homophobia is cured.
Exactly. It's cured by a Pepsi. Share it with the homophobes.
Yeah, right? So, no, it's... Because that's still a thing. That's still even a thing. Like, it's always going to be a thing here in, like, in North America. Hopefully not for too much longer. But I mean, the danger is always still there. There's always some freaking weirdo. Like, it's just...
absolutely.
It sucks.
So it's a very disheartening thing to see in DC, especially with John Kent, our bisexual Superman.
Yep.
And whatever issues I have with his writing in other places, I mean, this was a different writer. This is not Tom Taylor. This is not Bendis. This is someone else entirely being told, hey, here's this character, tell a Pride story. And that's what we...
Yeah, but it's weird because, like, I think we've talked about this before too. Like, Devin Grayson's got probably not the best track record when it comes to just like...
Oh, not at all.
Like, how like DC always brings up like, women in fridges, and everyone kind of always throws that at, like, not just DC, but comics in general, about how men don't know how to write women. And, it's kind of still half true in some cases,
or draw women in a lot of cases,
but at least, I'm going to say this, things have gotten better in that respect with like the drawing. I mean, it still exists, but it's gotten better in some sense. Like, there's more body types now in comics than I think there's ever been.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that comes with just having more diverse artists and writers now coming in too, right? Like, it's not just white dude party anymore, but like, regardless of how things even used to be like 15 years ago. Yeah. Like, Devin Grayson, like Devin Grayson was still kind of like, like, she did a lot of questionable things on the Nightwing title.
Oh, yes. A lot.
Right? And even though I bought every issue of that...
I'm sorry.
No, it's one of those things, like, when you first... You start buying something out of, like, habit. Like, when it comes to comics. So it's like, I started Robin at #1. I bought the entire run as it came out. I bought Nightwing #1. I bought the entire run as it came out. That's just how I was. It was like, I didn't realize I was being complete, but it was just like, I gotta get my Dick fix, gotta get my Tim fix, right? Like, I need it. And because I read mostly them more than I used to read Batman until about, I guess, right around Hush. So, oh God, that was 20 years ago. Oh, time.
How does that make you feel?
Oof.
And yet here we are having this conversation about Devin Grayson again. Why is she still here?
She's still here. Yeah.
Still here.
But she was gone for a long time, and I'm not quite sure why. Yeah.
Well, and it's like we mentioned last week, I think it's so she does openly identify as a bisexual woman, and I will never question her sexuality. Like, that is not part of this conversation whatsoever. But like we said last week or the week before when it came up, being a bisexual person doesn't automatically make you a good writer.
Right.
Being a queer person does not, it's just like, you can be a queer person and you can still be a bad person.
Yeah, that's true.
You can be a queer person and you can be a bad writer.
It happens.
So I feel like, honestly, part of it was DC looking at their list and going, shoot, what writers do we have that are queer? And, pulling her off of that list.
Yeah. Like, I guess maybe half of them now all work on Marvel and X-Men. So it's just hard to get
frankly, yeah.
Right. But I also want to know, like, okay, that was like the rough spot.
Yeah.
What was the best story to come out of that bunch?
Oh man, I can say with sincerity that picking a best one is difficult because there were some really, really good ones. But if I had to pick a personal favorite, let me pull up the list because I would probably narrow it down to two. The Kate Kane Batwoman one was really beautiful because that one was actually not from her perspective, but from the perspective of her dad.
Okay.
And this could also be the new parent in me getting emotional, but it was from the perspective of the dad, where she's actually like in the middle of rescuing him from like a hostage situation. And it's him kind of going through the like, as a parent, from the moment they're born, all you want to do is protect them and take care of them. And then like you see who they become. And it really ends in this beautiful moment of him. And there is a moment that like shows the moment where she comes out to her dad kind of in the background over his thought bubbles, but in his thought bubbles never blatantly says like, and my daughter is gay. Like it very much just shows how much he loves her for all of these things, and her coming out as gay happened to be part of it.
Right.
So I actually thought that was really beautiful. Like it was definitely included, but it wasn't like, I'm just so proud that you like women. Like, thank God,
Right. Yeah.
It was, I'm so proud of who you are, and the strength it took for you to come out was part of that. And I love you, and like, you're strong and amazing. And so I thought that was really, really gorgeous. The Alicia story with the trans character with Batgirl was also really well done. Again, another one where it talks about the fight, but just in a really empowering way. She has this line where she's straight up, Batgirl's trying to like find a weapon for her. And Alicia's like, I'm a trans woman in Gotham. I've got a weapon. Like, I got this.
Right. Yeah.
But it is definitely done in a way that's like, almost like a lighthearted action, like feeling. So that was really, really lovely. Tim's and Bernard's was very cute. Again, it was just real cute. They are just very cute. I really enjoyed the Aquaman one because that one talked about growing up with less support, because it's Aquaman and his boyfriend. It's Jackson Hyde Aquaman, and he grew up without that support, and it showed him kind of talking to his boyfriend about that. The Ray, because this is why the John Kent one bothers me so much, because every single one of these other ones touched on a different issue and had a very different feeling. Like Tim and Bernard was very just, we're cute. It was so hard of me to figure out my feelings, but now I figured them out because I like you so much. Jackson's Aquaman was, I was not allowed to embrace who I was growing up, and I'm ready with or without that support to embrace who I am now. Batwoman's was, her father, like, and just how proud he was of her and how much he loved her. The Joe Green Lantern one actually addressed kind of the assumption of like, all bisexuals are slutty, and bisexuals just want to sleep with anyone. That one really touched on that in a cool way, and that stereotype. Right. So all of these different ones. The Harley Quinn Poison Ivy one was a little it was cute. That one was a little less exciting for me. It was, it's Harley and Ivy, and it was safe. But it was cute. But it wasn't actively damaging. Like, they were very
It was a breather for the straight people reading, right?
I mean, honestly, it kind of felt like it. Like, and here's your heterosexual intermission. No, they were very, very cute. They were very in love. It was sweet.
I'm gonna add that as a part of the regular show. The heterosexual intermission. I'm just gonna.
You just need that break, man.
We'll put up a little ad.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you need a safe space?
Yeah. Did you need a safe space?
We got you. Yeah. So it was, and then there was a Kid Quick one, which I just think is really fun because I love that Earth 11 gender bent universe. And that one was cute because that one was more childish, which I appreciated actually, because I do hate the idea that sexuality is a sexual conversation, right?
Right.
Like, being bisexual does not inherently make something PG-13 or R or whatever it is. Right. So that was cute to have actually a more like childish like story in there. I thought that was fun. The Ray kind of talked about their relationship like with public displays of affection. And at first he was kind of like uncomfortable, like not, keeping it a little more private, and had to address that with his partner. And I think the actual really cool message of that one though wasn't, it was just, you're wrong, you have to like kiss me in public or you're not a good partner. The conversation was, okay, you might not want this public, I might, but we need to have this conversation and figure out what's right for us together.
Right.
So I actually thought that was really cool that they like went out of their way to do that message. The Nubia one was, again, that was another that was just really cute. It was very funny. It felt real. And so again, like not everything had to be deep and dark, but
Right.
it still felt like a real natural relationship and a story. And it was not.
That's what a lot of people just want at the end of the day, right? Like you just want it to feel legit.
Yeah. So it definitely went a lot between like things that touched on darker themes. It was pretty lighthearted overall, though, I would say.
Right.
All of the different stories in it were really short. It's a super fast read. The entire issue is. You could sit down and probably read the whole thing in an hour or two. But yeah, it was really cute. And so just huge shout out to pretty much everyone else involved in this project. And it's cool reading through because every story was like themed in a different color in the way. So the colorist for the stories as well, like did a really brilliant job of that kind of rainbow theme going through. It was lovely. And like I said, the John Kent one was visually very pretty. It's a little weird.
It's a
little weird.
But still available. I'm pretty sure it's like there was no more at my local comic shop, but it's
that's awesome though. We love to see that.
We do love to see that. And again, my comic shop, it's downtown, like it's right downtown in Vancouver. So it's like, they'll order a lot of that stuff and a lot of that stuff will go. Like as soon as they do any kind of like any sort of special edition or just like special it's the one where all the collectors kind of like really kind of rush to and just kind of they grab all the variants. And because this book had a lot of variants.
Yes. And they were beautiful. Yeah. The art that came out for DC Pride this year. And I mean, DC Pride honestly always consistently does some really beautiful artwork.
Yeah. I got the one for last year. And I think I got the one for like right before. So 2019.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was very torn last year when they had John come out. And it was such a challenge because I don't love the way John and Jay's relationship is written, but their art is so pretty.
Right.
Their cover art, their Pride variants. Oh my gosh, they're gorgeous.
That's awesome. See, yeah, I love that. It's and that's what you want too, right? Because end of the day, like I was saying, like if you're gonna pick something up and you're a new reader, it's gonna be that cover that's gonna draw you in.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like you can tell people to go read Watchmen, go read Saga, go whatever. You can recommend stuff all you want, but at the end of the day, people are gonna gravitate to a cover that looks cool. So it's always good that they're giving it that extra effort. And I love it when DC actually does those bigger style, like 80-page giants, like Pride, like they do for anniversary issues. So it's like when it was Robin's 75th, Joker's 70th, or Joker's 80th.
Mm-hmm.
Like they do those big, thick 80-page ones, and they'll do all those crazy covers. And I think I ended up buying like 5 Green Arrows, and I was like, why did I do this? Why?
I'm never gonna look at this again. What have I done?
What have I done? Yes. Right. I did the same thing with when X-Men just got relaunched by Jonathan Hickman, who will also be at Emerald City Comic Con.
Hey,
yeah, I know.
There was that really beautiful. Because if I'm gonna give credit to this, I have to get the artist's name right. The artist that's doing Nightwing with Tom Taylor right now.
Oh my gosh, my Nightwing trade is just like, if I could just use the Force properly.
Bruno.
Yes.
Bruno Redondo.
Yes.
There was that issue they did, and I have to give credit where credit is due, because this is not my favorite run, but they did that issue a few weeks ago, where it was just like one continuous, like if you took all the pages and laid them out in a line, it was like just the continuous scene. That is one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time.
Did you see him and Tom Taylor holding up the whole thing like a poster?
Yes. I kind of wanted that poster on my wall, and I don't read that series, consistently.
Man.
But I wanted that.
Flash puts up a good point here. Cover art not matching interiors used to confuse me before I really got into comics. You know what? That's actually a fair thing to say
Yeah.
because like artists not doing the cover has only been something that's been happening like in the it's like what since the early 2000s, I guess would be, because that's when they used to get like that's when J. Scott Campbell used to stop doing like interiors, and same with Michael created Fathom. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? But he's passed away since then. They used to just do covers, right, and just do tons of variant covers. And I'm sure a lot of people would pick him up thinking they're getting J. Scott Campbell art, and surprise, surprise, it's someone else. Not getting paid as much.
Oh, sorry. I cannot believe I literally had what might just be my favorite part of the DC Pride issue, and I didn't mention it at all. It completely slipped my brain. It was the sorry. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
The
go.
Hawk issue. Robin's friend Hawk. He had one where he came out as asexual, Connor Hawk, and it was beautifully done. He's fighting Maestro in it, so he has so there's no dialogue happening. It's just the visual of him fighting him, but there's like the kind of a dialogue, like internal thought, because he's writing a letter to his mom where he's coming out. And the way he describes being asexual is he uses these music terms to describe it, like while he's fighting this music themed villain. And it's really beautiful the way he talks about, he's like, there's like, he's like, I just don't have a part in this. Like, I'm not part of this orchestra, but everyone's looking at me like I've ruined the concert because I'm not doing my part. And it's just like, it's really, really beautiful. And with all the musical visuals going on at the same time. And I think that one was particularly excellently done, because I think asexuality, when it comes to the queer umbrella, is one that gets a lot of flack for not being understood. Like being gay, being bi, being pansexual. I think it's a lot easier for people to grasp, oh, I'm not gay, but I know what it feels like to be sexually attracted to someone. Yours is just a different person than mine. But asexuality is a lot more confusing, I think, to people who can't relate. So the fact that they used the asexual story in Pride as a sort of an explanation, and such a beautiful one, was really, really lovely. So sorry, I had to jump back to that because I cannot believe I almost forgot.
No, that's good. No,
beautiful.
No, that's great. That's exactly, no, that's what this is all about. We can always come back. We take side turns all the time.
And listen, if Damian Wayne shows up at the end for 2 seconds because he and Connor are besties, it's whatever. Yeah. And doesn't show up and say, hey, do you want to go attack Pride with me?
Yeah. That's still amazing. So weird to me they would go that route with Damian.
Yeah, because he at the end of that one shows up and he just has this cute little ally friend moment where he's like, hey, as someone who has serious mommy issues, basically, maybe you should do this in person instead of through a letter. And Connor's like,
right,
you right, buddy. And then they go do their thing together, and it's really cute. But yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm so glad you got to finally get to talk about it, because you've been holding this up
so good
for so
that
long.
One was just beautiful.
Right. Do we want to get into Warner Brothers animation?
Let's do it.
And
I feel kind of bad because I know this was one of my suggested topics for the night. So I take full responsibility for this, all of our listeners out there in Gotham City. But a lot of it is hearsay. A lot of it is still rumor. But I have a lot of feelings about DC animation. So even with the rumors and the threats, I still have to address it. First of all, if anyone with any sort of influence is listening, please do not cancel the Super Sons movie. I will literally cry.
I just don't. I don't think they will, because if it's already done, it's done.
Well, so was Batgirl.
Well, that one was still in post. It was Scooby Doo that was 95% done.
Yeah.
And then they axed it, which is insane to me, because me, who works in feature animation, when you're 95% done, that means people have already been doing weeks and weeks of overtime and crunch time to get this done, only to find out it's not coming out. And so that's insane to me. So you're right. Like, I mean, it could happen, but it sounds like Warner Brothers Discovery, they're treating all this like, if it's animation, it's going to go into the kids bracket and they need stuff for kids. And
Yeah.
that's where I just kind of get like, animation is not just for kids. It's just a storytelling device. That's just like saying comics are for kids.
Yeah, have
right?
y'all
Like,
read a comic lately?
Yo,
Do not
yeah.
let your kids pick up a comic, quite frankly. Don't do it.
Yeah, unless there's an art. You can't even do it now if it's got an Archie logo on it. Before, Archie used to be safe.
No.
You can't even do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so
comics are not for children.
Yeah, so it's
Or
they're
for girls,
teenagers,
according to a lot of people.
Well, those people don't count.
Yeah, It's not like DC Superhero Girls has been an extremely successful franchise or anything.
Oh gosh, all of them. But that's the whole thing. Like, when I think about even like one of the biggest influences in my life has always been Batman the Animated Series.
Oh.
And the women who I hung out with that time too, like back in high school and stuff, they were watching it too. Because Batgirl was cool. Right?
Yeah.
That's just, we were all into it. And it wasn't like, and again too, like, I grew up in a very small town on a farm. The only other person that read comics, like read comics, was my friend Jasmine. So for the longest time in my naive head, and there's not really internet back then. It's just, so in my head, I was just like, well, 50% of readership is women.
Yeah.
that was just in my head. Like, it's just
it's me and Jasmine times a billion. That's comic fans.
That's the comic book community. No big deal. Right? Like, and I used to see like women write letters into Wizard magazine and all that. So it was like it was a thing. Right? Yeah. And I know the 90s were like freaking the Wild West when it came to just doing and saying what you wanted, for better or for worse. Right? But it's like,
that hasn't changed.
Well, it's I think it's gotten better, but it's just like, I think there's stuff that used to happen in the 90s, like Jerry Springer episodes, that just would never happen today. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
absolutely,
things have changed socially since gosh, I really hope I'm right when I say that, and I'm not just being farm boy naive again. But it was like, but it wasn't until like I moved out here to, well, I shouldn't say when I moved out here. I should say when I started like I was still pretty naive about it all the way through my 20s. And it wasn't until you started getting like women posting stories of their experiences at conventions, where it would be like guys, you'd see it like before YouTube started. You have those guys trying to be Triumph, the comic insulting dog. But at San Diego Comic-Con and stuff, they'd go to these women and be like, so, you're a porn star? You're going to show us your boobs? Right? All that kind of, like, kind of shit, right? And they'd get...
And you're sitting there like, this is actual harassment.
Like, it's legit harassment. Like, that's the thing where I'm just like... And you hear about all the gatekeeping stuff. And that's when it started to, like, really kind of come to my attention when... Because, like I said, like, in my head, women were into this. Clearly, they are into it. They're showing up at conventions. Right? They're doing the cosplays. They're reading the comics. Like, in fact, you can see it now because the new generation of like writers and artists, so many of them are women. You go to look at any convention list of guests for comic guests, and there's a lot of women in there. And so that's the whole, like, I always kind of felt like, I just never realized that wasn't a thing. And then, but now I feel like, I can't remember where I was even going with this. I was getting myself heated up. I was getting so mad. But it's like, we're going back. Batman animated series. Well,
because I think there have been recent comments from people in DC, corporate, saying women just aren't into comics. Girls don't read comics. And you sit here and you look around and you're like, I wish someone had told me that. I would have saved so much money.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That would have been nice to know.
Right. And so it's just like, and I think there was always that stigma, and I'm going to go back to the other stigma with animation where people just say it's kind of for kids. And so it's always kind of like DC always managed to make cartoons, even if they were directed at a younger audience, like Batman Brave and the Bold. Like,
Mhm.
it's clearly lame for a younger audience, but it's still never talked down to kids.
Yes.
And I'm always kind of worried and concerned that when you get new people in charge and you've got these rich guys in suits and they're like, well, I know what the people want. Right? And they, they decide to flip things on their head. Clearly that's already happening.
Yeah, they
With
come
Warner
in and they're
Brothers.
like, you know what's never been done before? An evil Superman. I'm going to be the first. I'm so clever.
It only works. It only works with two characters, the evil Superman. Like the boys, right? And Earth 3. And I think
Mm.
that's it. To me, I still think Earth 3 could kick the Seven's ass in a heart.
I will say I really enjoyed Red Sun. I thought that one was a
Oh,
very
right.
well written one.
Red Sun's beautiful though. I
That
don't know.
one's good.
I didn't see that one as necessarily an evil Superman.
Right. It was more just a different morality as opposed to evil.
Yeah.
A
Like it's
different
just
side.
like right, he's just raised different. Where
Yeah.
what
That one was good.
what's his face? Well, I blank every episode. The moment the camera's on, I can't remember a darn thing.
It's
The
okay. I
boys.
forget when it's off too.
Yeah.
Oh, Homelander?
Homelander. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like Homelander to me. He's just like he's a piece of shit. Like through and through. And I get that's again one of those things what happens when you don't have a mom, Pa Kent. Cyborg Superman, to me, he's not really an evil Superman. He's just
that's another one that's just like
he's just a douchebag cyborg.
Yeah. I have to give this one a shout out because I do love Gail Simone as an author. As
a Twitter feed as well. She's great.
Yeah, and just as a Twitter feed, as a non-sentient Twitter feed, we really appreciate Gail Simone. So here's my confession. I am not the biggest Barbara Gordon fan. I was never super into her as Batgirl in any iteration, honestly, animation, comics. I did not love Barbara Gordon until I read Gail Simone's post-Oracle Batgirl run specifically.
Okay.
And that is one of the, other than the ones where she's just Oracle, because I actually love her 1,000 times more as Oracle than as Batgirl. But the way, because any post-Oracle Batgirl, you really have to justify it to me, because having her become this incredible kind of disabled icon in comics and then just magicking the disability away from her feels cheap to me. It does. I don't like it. Once she established this incredible character of Oracle, I kind of hate taking it away from her. Gail Simone's writing for her as post-Oracle Batgirl is one of the only times I have really appreciated Barbara Gordon.
Right. That's fair. That's totally
I feel like,
fair.
and it's not even Babs's fault. I feel like just her as a character, almost anytime she shows up in anything, she shows up as a vehicle for someone else's character. 9 times out of 10. I just don't feel like she's been treated well enough for me to appreciate. So when Gail wrote her, it was focusing on her and her strength and who she was. And so I was able to appreciate her as a character. Because otherwise, like there's the 3 Jokers where she pretty much just shows up to make out with Jason. And then have it implied they would have. And again, just taking dicks, anything that was dicks and passing it down to Jason.
Yeah, he's just everyone included, is always a hand-me-down from Jason. It's just
weird.
because when they did that, I remember reading it and I was kind of like, this, I'm digging the art. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, this is interesting.
And even her other interactions with Jason were fine. Like the fact that she was coming through and like, you would think being like the older sister, because she's even older than Dick, supposedly.
Yes.
That's why she's the mature one. Not just because girls are more mature. Like the point was she was actually older.
And it's just like when I don't know, it was one of these, there's just something that always kind of bugs me. Like, it's like when like Bruce Timm has this thing where Bruce and Barbara hook up. Like, and to me, that's gross.
I hate that.
And the whole idea of like, even like Jason and Babs hooking up is also gross to me too. Like, you can't have her just go through the entire Bat family.
Yeah.
And, it's, I don't know. It just felt like, I remember just reading it and just being like, I don't know if I can finish this series. Just because of that one, that's all it took, and just be like,
It's rough. You sit there and you're like, oh no. I mean, when they did it in it's you get to that something and you're just like, why? Especially like I can usually get past Jason and Barbara if it happens. I just usually probably don't appreciate the way that Barbara character is written if it happens, just for like what else it means for her. But if it's a Bruce Babs moment, I'm pretty out. I'm pretty done.
Yeah, because there's
pretty real quick right there.
I know in the Arkham video game series, it's Babs and Tim, but Babs is or Tim is older. Sorry, Tim is he's older. They're supposed to be the same age, so I see where they were going, and I think they wanted to still have that Batgirl Robin dynamic.
Yeah,
not necessarily the.
So then that's where you want to say, okay, well then just leave Babs alone, make her Oracle in your game, and introduce a Stephanie Batgirl, and then she can have Tim. And that again, it falls into the trope that I keep seeing them doing with the Batgirls, with Corey, with Raven, where they take these characters and age them down for no reason other than to pair them with a man. And these are these powerful, incredible women, and you are retconning their entire stories, their entire histories, everything they have done for the world as a heroine, and taking that all away because you think Raven and Damian would be like the cute emo couple of the century. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Give him someone else.
And it's funny.
Give him no one. He's 14.
And I love how, even Teen Titans Go influenced the comics there for a while. Where everybody wanted Raven and Gar to hook up, it's just just because of Teen Titans Go,
or even because of the original Teen Titans run.
Yes, right.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
They're all part of that first original.
But at least they were all in an age bracket that wasn't frustrating.
Correct. they were. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm Team Oracle. I just love Babs as Oracle. I do. I think it's different. I think it sets her apart. I think she has always done better as a leader for the team. And I think she does that more as Oracle than she does as Batgirl.
Right. But she's kind of doing more Oracle-y things again.
She is. And again, I think that it's frustrating because at that point you're like, so you're going to leave her in this role that this disability created for her, but not let her represent it in the disability, which is why she got there. And that just feels offensive, honestly.
Right. You actually said what I was thinking. I just didn't know how to phrase that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's rough because it's like, so she's going back in this role and that's great. But so why couldn't she have done that while being a representative for this group of people that she was, that it was canonically there and then taken away because the magic of modern medicine, daddy's money, yay.
Daddy's money.
Bat daddy's money.
Right, yeah. You can't treat Barbara Gordon like Smurfette.
Barbara Gordon, Starfire, any of them.
Any of them. It's, they don't do that with Wonder Woman.
Right.
I'm
that's why Wonder Woman has stayed so cool.
And here's what's funny too. And here's again where cartoons start to influence the comics. Because they always left this little bit of tension between her and Batman and Justice League Unlimited.
Literally the only universe I have ever shipped Wonder Bat so hard. But they did it so well was the thing. They did it well.
Where he was hesitant and he's just and she's just but you're warrior, dude. And you're pretty smart.
Listen, that scene when they were on the rooftop and he's like, people close to me get hurt. And then she crushes a gargoyle in her fucking hand. Yeah. That was let me tell you, that was a defining moment for the kind of relationship I wanted in my life. I love that woman.
Yes. And because that's that whole episode where she gets turned into a pig, right?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
And again, it's just that episode just kills me because it does start off with that tension. And I think you're right. That's that's the rooftop scene. It opens with that. And then it she turns into a pig. And I just love how Batman's just keep this on the down low. Do not talk about this. Right?
Yeah.
We're looking for a pig with tiara and bracelets.
It's normal. It's fine. We're all fine. And I also do want to clarify, if there is a character that sleeps around a ton, I don't have issue with that. That is also a fine thing. The issue that happens with these is you have these characters that are not written in that way, and it's not like, oh, here's a character who is sexually open and it's her own like empowerment and it's this cool thing. It's they take these characters and they are just going through like these weird, not like they're literally, you can tell they're only having this sex and having this relationship because someone wanted it for their favorite Robin. They just wanted their favorite Robin to get some Barbara Gordon. And you're like, I can feel that though.
Yes.
That's not right.
It is true. Yeah. It's like, it's very blatant and it's kind of
Yeah.
gross.
It is.
Right. Thank you, Nolan.
Thank you, Nolan.
Right. It's just like, and again, we're just going to take the, like, because I'm glad we're still talking about animation. We're still talking about the cartoons. And again, like I'm really hoping they don't cancel Super Sons. I mean, we're so close.
It looks so funny.
What was the release date? Did they give us the release date for that?
I don't think they did. I think I would have it tattooed on my forehead if they had.
Well, I don't think that's necessary. But
as long as they don't change it on me. No, I do not think they have a release date yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, just deep breaths.
We're fine. Because the other one that I'm looking forward to is jumping around DC a little bit away from the Bat Fam to the Super Fam. It's, what is it called? I think it's the New Adventures of Superman and Lois.
Yes.
That one looks so cute. And that feels like one where it is intentionally younger, but in a good way, where it's like,
yeah,
we're not saying animations for kids, but we are saying this one is. You know.
Did you ever watch the old animated shorts that they used to have on DC Kids on YouTube? Where it would be like Lois Lane interviewing Batman.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, I can't right now. And she'd still just be like in the Batwing and be
because
like,
she's Lois fucking Lane.
She's Lois Lane. You can't stop Lois Lane. You know, that's actually something I'm surprised see like that nobody's done yet.
Yeah.
Is teenage Lois Lane series.
Oh yeah.
And
this one looks really cute because
if you started it off with her, if you started her off at 14, you got to remember her dad was a general, and she's an army brat, which means she would have moved around from base to base. So you could put her in all these different locations and environments and countries.
Yeah.
And just her getting into trouble, and because there's no Superman yet, she just gets herself out of trouble.
Yeah.
Like, it could legit be, you know, like that would be just, I don't know. I can't believe DC's never taken advantage of that. And I mean, I love
just a really fun investigative series.
Yes. Right. I'm trying to think of, it'd be like Veronica Mars almost.
Yeah. That would be cute.
Right. Like I always, yeah, I don't know. Lois Lane, man. Give me more Lois Lane. And
I know. I love her so much.
There was another, what was it? Is it DC animated? They used to do DC animated shorts that were, they'd go before, like when you'd buy like like Green Lantern First Flight DVD.
Yes.
They would have these animated shorts. And they were so freaking good. I'm trying to.
DC animated has just always been so strong. And I mean, like anything else, it's had its misses. We talked about, animated Killing Joke the other week and other things like that. But for the most part, it's been really strong.
Yeah. All right. See you later, Brandon.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's those animated shorts, because they were so just action-packed and fun and good, but they'd have that new DC style, but they would use the original voices from the Bruce Timm verse.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I could watch there's the Catwoman short, which is very, very, very sexy. I guess that's the best way to put it. That's the one where she sneaks into the strip club, gets on the pole.
I missed that one.
And then beats the shit out of all the dudes, all the gangsters in the club. No, they were sex traffickers. So they actually kidnapped a girl, and she's looking for the girl they kidnapped. Oh. So it's actually it's pretty close to, without the stripper stuff, but pretty close to the same kind of idea that we got out of the Batman, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find you these. And I'm gonna send them to you.
Yes, please do. And
I'm gonna post some of these on our Instagram and Twitter as well, so that you guys can see it. And they did a Green Arrow one, which is great, with Green Arrow going to pick up Black Canary from the airport, and chaos ensues, and in the
so
typical
cute.
Ollie way, which I love. And then there's another one with Jonah Hex, which is just amazing. And it just had me go, how did we get this Jonah Hex? But then the live action Jonah Hex, how does that one? I don't understand how, like, these, you see the short for Jonah Hex. Yeah, like I said, like, I don't understand studio execs who sit there and go, animation is for kids.
Right.
And animation writers and directors are for animation.
Yeah.
They can't do live action. There's no crossover there. Right?
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It blows my mind because it's just like a lot of the time, and I hate to say it, especially with DC recently, in most cases, the animated stuff's better.
Oh, yeah. The Under the Red Hood. I know that was a hot minute ago now.
Yep.
That is not a recent one, but that one was fantastic. Their Flashpoint one was incredible.
Death and Return of Superman.
Justice League War. Those
right?
were all really good.
You know, it's just like, yeah, you're off for a month. Everything's changed, Nolan. Everything's
the world
changed.
Is different. You gotta keep up. A month
That's right.
is too long.
Yeah. Right, but you know, it's you know, DC is right? DC animation is way better than their live action. And you know, and I think that's the other thing too, like we're worried about Warner Brothers Discovery canceling this stuff or moving on to a platform nobody will see because it's for kids.
Yeah.
What's really unfortunate about that is that it is better most of the time. In DC animation, like, yeah, we loved X-Men in the 90s. We loved Spider-Man in the 90s. But if you try to even compare 90s Spider-Man, 90s X-Men to Batman the Animated Series, Batman Animated Series is going to win. And that only comes with the how consistent it was with their quality of storytelling and animation. The Spider-Man and X-Men did not have that. Yeah. Like, as seasons go by, it's just like, it gets harder and harder to watch. Yeah. Where by the time they get to their last seasons, you're just like, oh, man, they're just like, it's just like talking pages.
Yeah,
right?
Tragically enough, even the Superman one was not quite that bad, but still not as great. And it was kind of weird. Like, Batman the Animated Series just stood so far and above. And I think that might be where there's almost a disconnect happening. Again, somewhere is getting paid a lot of money to get this wrong. And I just want to understand. Sit down and talk to me, whoever is making these calls. Because it feels like
if you're watching this and making these calls, let us make the call.
Call us. Let us make these calls. Call us. We'll make the call. It'll be great.
And we'll probably be cheaper.
Oh, yeah. We will do it for San Diego Comic-Con tickets. No.
I was going to say we'll do it for half the price whatever they're getting paid, because it's probably still more than what we're getting
what
paid.
He said
is
definitely what I meant. But, you know, when you go back to, like, Justice League, the Justice League Unlimited, Batman the Animated Series, these were shows that still held up to an adult audience, but also were still accessible to kids. Like, you know, when we say animation isn't only for kids, we don't mean it's not for kids at all. Because those were shows that, like, got me into it as a kid. And then as you grow up, could continue appreciating it because it was so well done.
Or just even understand it on a different level.
Yeah. The movies that they are doing today are not accessible for kids really at all. They are very from the comic, that grim, dark, that violence. And so if they go to a for kids platform, I think some parents are going to be real mad when they put on Batman for their kid and there's decapitations. Like, straight up bloody decapitation.
Like, isn't there, like, I swear there's one animated one, you're going to know this better than I will, where Damian and Nightwing fight, and then the next shot is them, they're just bloody.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Absolutely. It's Batman and Son.
Oh, it's Batman and Son. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's
or even what you're looking at, because they adapted Dark Knight Returns, which I thought they did a really good job of. And that one too, like, you're like, when you're talking about sensitive subjects like mass shootings, like the end of the second part of Dark Knight Returns, it's Joker going through an amusement park, going through the tunnel of love and just pop, 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 and you see it,
Yeah,
right? And there's bodies
absolutely.
floating, and it's bloody, and even
That is
on the
animation that is distinctly like I would not let my child watch until they were like a teenager.
right, and they also did an adaptation of Batman Year One, which was really, really good.
Hmm.
And again, too, like it might not be as violent per se, but it
Hmm.
deals with adultery, and it
Yeah.
deals with with corruption and other serious adult matters that may not necessarily be violent or
Yeah.
overly sexual, but they're talking and dealing about stuff that's just
Or even if it doesn't scar your kid, they're not going to get it. And
right.
so that's where I'm like, I wonder, do these people feel like this is like a Batman the Animated Series situation where these movies are still children's movies, but we like them as well, and they don't understand that these are actual no shit adult animated films?
Right. It
Because
could
they
very
are.
it could very well happen, right? And we
Mhm.
all know parents aren't necessarily reading, they just it's in the kids
Yeah.
stuff, so it's for kids.
It has Batman on it,
Yeah,
you
right.
know? Oh,
Yeah.
it's a Batman movie. Put it on. My kid loves Batman.
Yeah, they all should anyways.
Oh,
DC
Mask of
Animation,
the Phantasm.
yes, DC Animation started killing it with Mask of the Phantasm as far as the movies went. And you know what's unfortunate about this, Oz, is that the we haven't had a theatrical animated movie since. Like a lot of these animated movies will have like, oh, first weekend we're just gonna play them in theater, then they're out and you can go buy them on DVD. They'll be on streaming, whatever. But we haven't had like a run, and you know, it's no. If you've listened to my other shows I'm on with Yes Have Some podcast, yeah, everyone will know. Like I work on Spider-Man animated movies, and I want to work on a theatrical animated Batman movie so bad. And it shouldn't even be an issue because even back then, like it was Batman Returns, like what Mask of the Phantasm and Batman Forever was like not that far away. So it's
Yeah,
not
I
like
mean,
people got confused.
even Lego Batman, which I know sounds silly, but
So
legitimately it was a
good.
great movie. It's a huge success.
It's so good. It is
Yeah.
so good. I keep this little dude
Oh,
close
yeah.
by
Will
at
Arnett, is
all
that you?
times in his little house coat. And that's
Oh my
like,
gosh.
gosh, why aren't I doing this costume? It looks so comfortable.
There you go. Yeah, that's my Batman and Robin. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah. But that was great. Like that was another good that was I'm gonna watch that tonight when we're done.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, huh, I think I'm gonna go watch me some Lego Batman. So funny. Look, I'm just fighting around right now.
Yeah.
So good. But yeah, I mean, Super Pets is coming out, which obviously doesn't focus on like Batman. But he's in it, and I think that one's gonna be really cute.
Apparently
But
it's
yeah,
people are surprised with how much heart there is and how good it is, which again
yay.
I'm not surprised. I think a lot of movies get kind of like because they're not Disney, people all of a sudden seem shocked when something that's not Disney is really good.
Right.
It's so
Absolutely.
I find a lot of movies that aren't Disney that are amazing. Like just even not just beautifully animated, but the story is so good. They just fall under the radar because it's not on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah,
The,
the
the
Book of Life that came out before Coco did, and not to say one of my biggest pet peeves when people are like, "Oh, they're too similar." No, they're just both, from the same culture, and you have not been exposed to this culture enough to see the differences.
right,
But Book of Life is like one of my favorite animated movies. And
right. And I feel like
truly
even
incredible.
like Vivo kind of fell under the radar for people.
Mm.
That one's on Netflix. There's that new one, Jacob versus and the Sea Beast on
Oh
Netflix.
yeah.
Check that one out. In fact, a lot of the animation team that was on Into the Spider-Verse went on to that movie.
Oh wow.
So
I
be sure to
mean,
check that one out. And
my
then,
favorite Christmas movie of all time is what was it called? It came out on Netflix. It's about the mailman.
that Santa something.
Klaus.
Kringle?
Klaus. It's called Klaus.
Klaus.
Literally my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Full stop, hands down, animated live action, you name it. I love Klaus.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. And again, it all
cry
goes
every
back to
year.
that 2D animation, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I love about Vivo as well. It goes back and forth between that 3D and like the dream sequences or the flashbacks are all in 2D.
Mhm.
It's beautiful stuff. And again, just everyone, just if you like animation, just don't be afraid to dive into something that may
Yeah.
look like really kid friendly or something like that. Like trust me, man, Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Oh, that was a good one.
I don't think anyone was expecting what they got when that one came, like when that one dropped.
Yeah.
I'm so bummed out that didn't make it in theater. That my name is in those credits as well.
Oh, cool. No, that one was amazing.
Toot my own horn.
Yeah.
Right? But
And as we've learned the hard way, even if Ryan worked on it, I will say if I didn't like it.
yeah, it's true. She will. But you know what? That's okay though, because half the time, well, actually, so far all the time, I've agreed. So, so it's okay. It is okay. That's why I think another reason why I want an animated Batman movie to work on so bad is because I want a do-over.
Yeah.
I will always be a little bummed out that the only Batman movie I've worked on is Batman versus Superman, and I really want to do over.
Why?
But it was so much fun to work on. But it was just like,
Martha.
fun to work on, hard to watch.
Yep. There it is.
Right? Ryan Dole needs an IMDb. Well, guess what, Oz? I do have an IMDb.
I was gonna say, I thought you had one.
I do.
I feel like I've definitely creep looked that up before.
Yeah. Like, is this guy for real?
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Well, I mean, when you leave a club drunk and the next morning you're like, that guy I talked to said he works on all this stuff. Hold on.
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I'll see about that.
Yeah. To the internet.
Yeah.
That won't steer me wrong.
Block button on standby. Right, but no, it's like I said, like I want to do over. God damn it, DC, help me out. I'll even pitch you a DC. I'll pitch you a theatrical movie if you need one.
You direct it. Do the whole thing yourself.
Oh yeah, do the whole thing. It's that
do
easy.
The whole thing.
Just like I did Into the Spider-Verse, all by myself.
All you, with no help whatsoever.
Won't take me long, right?
Amazing. Congratulations on all of the Oscars that only you earned.
That's correct. Thank you. That's awesome. All right. We are over an hour again.
Yes.
We're going to do this every time. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We got a little bit into Emerald City Comic-Con at the very, very beginning of the show. We're going to get into it hard next show. In fact, I'll even bring up the guest list and stuff next week and hopes that more people get last minute announced, because as cancellations happen sometimes, they bring in more guests. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited. Well, yeah, we get to hang out for a little bit.
It's going to be so good.
I'm freaking super stoked for that. And yeah, and tell Steve, by the way, Steve is her husband. Tell Steve to make sure that he wears his like Peter B. Parker.
He's only going to be there on Friday.
How dare he?
Can't be there over the weekend. I know.
Steven. Okay.
I know. We're big mad about it. It's fine.
That's all right. It's okay. It's okay. I only seem to get him past it. Like
I know, literally.
Something's not fair here. Okay. This has been awesome. Thank you, everyone who watched tonight. Thank you to everyone who tuned in live. If you are first time watching and you like what you saw, please hit us a subscribe. I believe next week we are on Friday.
Yes, which is Emerald City Friday. So that's going to be exciting.
Oh, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens next week necessarily. We might do just a quick one-off thing, maybe Saturday night, and together in the same room. From a hotel Wi-Fi.
Yes,
we'll see what happens.
Maybe we'll just use my cell phone data. It'll probably be stronger.
Yeah, we'll use mine too. We'll just crank both phones in there and we'll get into it.
If you combine them.
So again, like we're gonna be later on in the week next week. We're always gonna go 3 Wednesdays and a Friday, unless of course conventions happen. But on the bright side, we're hoping to get some interviews in as well, and then we'll have some. So just some extra content to show you, after we get back as well. I'm excited. I don't know. I'm just super stoked, and hang on. And yes, I'll let Craig know I'll be putting his head on Flipper. So Flipper the dolphin. Craig has just so you have some backstory to that. My buddy Craig on Toy Anxiety has a big problem of selling getting excited, buying toys, then not understanding why he bought them, and then has to sell them. So he's flipping them. However, then like a month goes by and he goes, "Oh, why did I get rid of those?" And he buys them all over again.
No.
Yes. So, but it's watch the video. He did a whole video about it on Toy Anxiety. If you get a chance, just watch it. It's about 10 minutes long. It's really, really funny. But yeah, that you can also find me on Toy Anxiety on the Toy Anxiety channel. Lexi, where else can they find you?
You can find me at Lexi the First, kind of across the board. I also, the week that we are Friday on here is because I am playing Dungeons and Dragons on Gen Con TV under a show called Actoroki. So I am there instead.
That's awesome. That is so freaking cool. And thank you, Ryan B. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, if you like it, and also don't be afraid to, after you're done watching, if you want to leave a comment on here as well, whether you liked it, maybe you didn't. Maybe you're just like, gosh, you guys really like that Pride book.
You have terrible opinions.
Yeah, you guys have awful. Devin Grayson's amazing. How dare you? If you want to put that in there, go for it.
You.
We won't judge you.
Well, we won't delete your comment.
Yeah, we won't. That's very true. That's awesome. All right, everyone, you take care. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Night.